Okay, fam, so here is another example of the genius of Genghis Khan. Yes, he was a conqueror. History is history. Get over it. We're dealing with the facts of the situation here. So, this is a good example of military propaganda. So, I can't even believe somebody thought to be this clever. So, we've seen his cleverness in a time where there's no social media, there's no electronics, and all the gadgets we have today, which make warfare very easy, right? You can sit and press a button. There's not a whole lot of bravery, besides the people who are going on the ground or stuff like that, right? Now it's like cyber wars coming up and weird stuff like that. But this time, he decides to do a sort of splitting of the peasants even further. He tells all the peasants, right, to give him all the cats and birds as war booty and that they will leave, right? So it's pretty sad. But the peasants, they're already starving, remember? They're already struggling. They round up as many birds and cats as they can get. They hand it over to the Mongols, right? Guess what the Mongols do? They attach to the tails flags, like the banners of the Mongols, and flames, and then release them back into the area so that as the animals run around frantically, it sets everything on fire. Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! Oh my goodness! Can you imagine? Just think about this for a second. The people are starving. He decides to get some cats, and cats run quickly when they're afraid, and it just spreads flames everywhere. He figured out how to use birds and cats to set things on fire without having to do anything with his men. The peasants did it themselves. And see, we know that when a city starves, the first thing they try to eat is the cats and the birds and the dogs and the rats. So he's done a double fold attack here by making the starving starve more and them setting their stuff on fire even more. Because remember, previously, he had torched the countryside and forced the peasants into the city where they would drain the the aristocracy's grain supply and food supply, and used, the stampeding livestock method as well. So the cattle is out and about, and obviously the Mongols would have clearly taken the horses as well for their own needs. So that is very unique. I mean, who would have thought? This is a time of the extreme measures. I mean, this is the steppe culture. This is when people had to do things in order to shift the world. Genghis Khan, he's defeated Ong Khan. He's defeated his blood brother, remember? Jamuka. He has led successful campaigns. He survived several assassinations. One of them that was going to be his wedding, right? He has done so much already, right? And now he's taken on the jerkid in so many different ways. He uses cats and birds. He has filled in moat holes with the bodies of captives that he took. He has found the most cleverest ways to defeat and conquer. I mean, people now can't even find their way out of a paper bag, let alone conquer that much. I mean, history is just wow. Glad I didn't live in that time to have to experience that, but reading about it, you're like, whoa, that's intense. Some people figuring out how you do all this stuff. I mean, clearly clever. So cats and birds, attaching things onto them, and then think about the insult to injury that the peasants, who when they see the banners of the Mongols attached to the animals, knowing that they trusted the enemy and they didn't have really wise counsel. It kind of shows you how stupid the jerkid were to also not tell their peasants, hey, you guys got to stop. But remember, the jerkid also sacrificed like 30,000 of their own peasants so that they wouldn't rebel. So notice how the jerkid are a fortified city with a grand population, but clearly incompetent in so many ways, and the Mongols systematically are exposing that, right? Really shows you how an empire like the Jurkid were the second largest in China, yet they're idiots in a way, you know? Like, they're not really doing their job to defend their people and their city and their food, and the Mongols, who are a pure cavalry army, who are illiterate, are completely taking them on in a way that is so clever, you're just like, wow. So, you gotta just be like, whoa, it's just, history is insane.